Hello, I'm Jacqueline Holstead, and you are listening to On Point Conversations. In this podcast series, we share creative marketing, content, and branding strategies that help your business successfully navigate the new normal marketing environment. Last week, I talked about the influencer marketing programs and 10 steps to putting your own influencer marketing program in place. I got more questions related to how to select an influencer for a particular business. So today, that's what I'm going to talk about. Now, there are a number of agencies that you can look at, talk to, and see whether it's best for your company, either depending on resources, either time or money, to talk to an agency and have them develop the influencer relationship, and then you therefore become involved in that influencer relationship after they've set things up. That'll save time. It will cost money. So another way to do it is to do it more organically and do it on your own. And the way that I want to look at this today is how you select your influencer marketing person or persons goes back to some steps to becoming an influencer. So what does it mean to become an influencer? And taking and looking at that from a different perspective. You're not becoming an influencer, but you're looking for someone who has and wants to become is a really good influencer in the marketplace. The first thing you look for is an influencer who's focused on a niche that you can be passionate about and that your products or services link to. So again, focusing on that niche or niche, however you want to pronounce it, that niche market is really a segment of a much larger market, and it has its own demands and its own preferences. So companies who focus on these niche markets, they're better able to cater to a specific consumer. And they're also able to cater to that specific consumer's unique demands and also talk their language and become more ingrained with that particular industry or niche market. And that will build up loyalty and revenue, because that's largely how competitors overlook those markets, because they want to be all things to all people. One of my examples is I had a company who was a client who was a large energy management company. And they were in a lot of industries because they controlled heat and cooling and a variety of other types of energy management. They wanted to pursue the nursing home industry, which is a relatively large industry, very specific, very niche. And they were not getting anywhere. Their salespeople were just not getting in to even have meetings with these people. So I was brought in to do the research on the marketplace. And one of the things, and small things that I found, was that salespeople were going to these nursing homes and telling them that they could turn their heat down at night and be more efficient. Well, you don't do that in a nursing home. So we were able to tweak some of the things that the salespeople did that was specific to the nursing home industry, which created a whole new market for this company. So the first thing I would look for is an influencer who has done that. They've taken a niche, they're compassionate about it, and they're able to concentrate on that niche, and they're knowledgeable about it. So some specifics might be yoga for seniors, vegan food, skincare for mature skin, exotic travel, budget-friendly travel. So basically, they don't take a big, broad topic, but they take a smaller topic and they expand on it. And they have an audience who looks at that influencer as their way to get more knowledge about that particular area and to know more about it. The second thing that you look for in an influencer is that they demonstrate their knowledge. So now once you've established that this is the niche you're going to try, you're going to work for, you're going to find an influencers who are in this niche, then you're going to look for someone who demonstrates their knowledge. They're sharing their knowledge with the field. They have high quality content. They demonstrate their authority, and they understand what they're saying, and they're saying it, and they're smart about what they're saying. They've made a name for themselves in this industry. So some of the different mediums that your influencer might be using and that you can look for is a blog, social media definitely, And ideally, they should be in 3 or more of the following: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Pinterest. Check to see if they have guest blogging. Look if they have videos or webinars. Maybe they do podcasts, slideshows, infographics. Maybe they're doing white papers, or maybe they've even written a book. The trick is to look for those influencers that are creating high quality and valuable content that they're repurposing over several different mediums. So if they have a lengthy blog post, they're also recording it perhaps as a webinar or a podcast. They've broken it down to a slideshow. So they're smart in how they're handling this, and it is high quality content. Look for an influencer who has an opinion, and that opinion coincides with what you want your company and product and service to be behind. So you want to look for someone who's not just sitting on the fence with everything, but they have an opinion and they have a voice, and they're sharing their opinions and they're sharing their voice, and they're looking very authentic, and they're independent thinkers. One of the statistics that I came up with in some of my research when I was doing this, looking at what I would talk about today, and found this very interesting, is that a single internet minute holds more than 500 hours of video uploaded by users on YouTube, 147,000 photos on Facebook uploaded to Facebook, and 347,000 stories being uploaded to Instagram. So if you want to rise above all that with your influencer, you want someone who is independent in their thinking, and they hold true to their own values and beliefs, and they're authentic. The other thing you might look for an influencer is someone who networks with other influencers. So somebody who's got a network together. They started a conversation with other influencers online. They have a network of in-person, they have a network of events. Now they're not in person, but on Zoom events or eventually in person. And connect with that influencer yourself online. Read, watch, or listen to their content, and reach out with your own constructive comments or questions, and start a conversation with them in their mediums, and continue to do that for the coming days, weeks, months. So eventually they'll come to recognize your name and see you as a valued audience member, and then see your name if you talk to them about being an influencer for your product or service. So it begins to build rapport over time. It can even blossom, as I said, into some working relationship or friendship. So how do you find influencers within your niche? We've already talked about exploring those influencers on social media, and I would definitely keep Instagram in mind for almost any program. Look also at some other alternatives. So for example, industry trade shows, conferences, workshops, maybe live talks and interviews, festivals. We have a lot of options right now because so many of these are being done online with Zoom or whatever platform those are in GoToMeeting or anything else like that. And they're an opportunity to visit these particular conferences without having to travel. So it's a great time to open yourself up to all different types of webinars and industry trade shows, and look at who is influencing things that are going on in that particular marketplace. An influencer also should really be engaging with their own audience. So you want to see how they're doing rolling conversations with their audience, how they're asking and working with questions related to what they're talking about, how they respond to questions, or even thanking people for their comments. So the most successful influencers are those who are going to focus on being real, accessible, and approachable. After all, the audiences are the backbone of that influencer's career. The other thing you want to look at is when you're a thought leader in a particular niche, it is very rewarding and you're given lots of opportunity to impact companies and talk to companies. See what the influencers are doing in that particular area. How flexible are they with their work schedule? How flexible are they in their posts? What kinds of things are they presenting online and also working with and answering questions from their own audience? As you select your preferred social media channels, you also want to look at what your influencer has selected. So popular social media channels, Instagram, and I would definitely consider Instagram to be one of the top. There's Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Pinterest, YouTube, LinkedIn, and probably by the time I even record this, there'll be even more. So look at all the ones that your influencer is in, and look at the niche market that they're in and how those two interact with each other. You would select your influencer also based on the social media, but you would also select your own social media networks by intersecting who your target audience is, where these influencers are within your niche and where they're the most active, and the type of content they're creating. So as you look at this and as you develop your program to find an influencer and work with an influencer, you're again going to be looking at it from what you have to offer, what niche you want to be associated with, and also where you think the profitability would be for your product or service. You want to find the influencers in that area, and you want to monitor them over a period of time. You don't need to make a selection right away. You're going to be working with them. And if you do it organically and you spend the time getting to know them, interacting with them, talking to them, going to these industry meetings where they're at, doing, even if you do questions via chat, if you're in a webinar, ways to get in front of them so eventually they know your name, your company name, and they see you as a valuable asset to their particular audience. I hope this has helped you today. Next week, I'm going to take on a whole other topic. I want to talk about idea producing, which sounds pretty much like we've heard that before, but I'm going to take a little bit different tack. So I hope you listen, and I hope you learn something. Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you for listening, and I invite you to join me next week as we talk more about specific actions you can take to reach your own business goals. You can find my library of other inspiring podcasts like this one at onpointthinking.com. Again, thank you for listening. This is Jacqueline Holstead at On Point Conversations.